Well, having a new baby in your life is often a time of sleepless joy, but in some cases it can also be incredibly lonely and isolating. With Perinatal Mental Health Week underway, we're joined in Canberra by someone who knows just how challenging this can be. Joy Adan, who has a beautiful baby boy. Joy, so wonderful to talk to you. Welcome to the program.
Hi Bridget, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really well. I'm really keen to get your story as we're speaking this week about perinatal mental health, which is such an important topic, particularly for mums and dads out there that have a new baby or are just struggling to kind of articulate what they're going through. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. So my baby boy is not quite a baby anymore. He's now already 8.
Oh,
but
okay.
I experienced...
Still a baby. Right. They're always still our babies,
still my
aren't they,
baby.
Joy?
Still my baby, absolutely. And so I actually experienced perinatal mental health issues in my second pregnancy. So at the time I thought to myself, I should know what I'm doing. I've had a baby before, it's all good. But my second pregnancy was actually a lot harder than my first. I had really terrible pelvic pain from about 20 weeks onwards. And that really impacted my ability to walk, to drive, to take care of my then toddler, and that I had gestational diabetes, so the mental load of having to manage my diet was really put a lot of pressure on me. And I kept telling myself, and the midwife kept telling me, don't worry, when the baby arrives everything will be great, you know, the pain usually goes away. But I was induced for my second labour and it was very quick, and that came with health complications. And so I remember after the baby arrived, I was over the moon and I was falling in love with this new little person, but I would yo-yo between being so elated that I had this new person in our family to welcome and then feeling so incredibly overwhelmed and emotional and really feeling a great sense of grief and loss. And there was a moment in particular when he was a few weeks old and we had just dropped off his big brother at preschool, and it was as smooth a morning as it could possibly be when you've got 2 kids. And I was just driving in the car down the Great Western Highway and just started crying, and I could not stop. And the music was off, nothing had triggered the tears, but I just remember in that moment thinking to myself, you are drowning and something's got to give. And I was very lucky that that evening when I spoke to my husband about it, he had encouraged me to go and see our regular GP for a chat.
Oh, Joy, this story just means so much to me because I went through a similar experience with my second son, and yeah, I think it is that a really common experience when you have a second or a third baby and you think, oh my gosh, like I know how to do this, what is wrong with me? Tell us, and of course there's nothing wrong with you, it's just such a common experience and it's such a stressful time, but when you're in it, it can feel really isolating. Tell us about what happened when you went to a GP. You really wanted someone to ask, how are you doing?
Yeah, and to be honest, when I had my 6-week postpartum checkup, I had specifically booked a GP that wasn't our regular doctor, thinking, okay, if I speak to a female doctor, I'll be able to chat about what's going on. But I was in and out the door in 10 minutes. And I remember feeling so confused and so alone because I really wanted her to just dig a little bit deeper and ask, like, really, how are you doing? So I went to our regular family doctor and he was so understanding. He was the first person to tell me or to articulate, look, even if you have all the reasons to explain why you're struggling, it doesn't mean you have to struggle by yourself. And he very quickly referred me onto a psychologist and I started therapy. And I remember being really nervous about that because there was still very much a lot of stigma around seeking professional support. I had no idea that PMDA Week even existed. I didn't know that the Gidget Foundation existed. So I was glad to be able to be given that support and to access that in my time of need because it gave me the lifeline that I needed.
What would you say to other parents out there who are watching right now? Maybe they've got a baby in their arms or a toddler. They just don't feel 100%. They don't feel themselves. What would be your message to people this morning watching?
I would say that, first of all, you're not alone. Your journey with your new little baby, or maybe not so new little baby, is definitely unique and it's your own, but it doesn't mean you have to go through it by yourself. And there is definitely people out there who are not only just trained to help you and to give you the tools that you might not even realise that you need, but they want to help you. And it is so important to reach out and to start talking about what you're going through, and surround yourself with people who you can be real and raw with, because parenting is hard. Being a mum and a dad is hard, and it doesn't have to be hard on your own.
Joy, beautiful message, an important message. It's so good to connect with you. Thanks so much for your time on News Breakfast this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there's so many wonderful charities supporting new mums and dads across Australia. I would encourage you to go to the Gidget Foundation Australia website this morning. Perhaps you're having a tricky time. Please go there. There's lots of different resources. You can also get help by calling Lifeline on 1311 14 or Beyond Blue on 1300 22 4636.
Weren't they just beautiful messages there?
Yeah, they were. As I say, that was my experience having perinatal anxiety with my second son. It was incredibly isolating. And so just for anyone out there watching, like I do know what you're going through, and there is help and there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, well said.